Movies in minutes. Minutes.
Welcome to this week's episode of Movies in Minutes. I will be presenting episode 18 this week. I first want to thank all my community here for clicking and joining in. For this week, we will be reviewing a classic film. It actually came out here in, let me double check my notes. 2018. The movie we will be reviewing this week is The Mule, which co-stars and is directed by the one, the only Clint Eastwood. I do want to make a quick few notes about this film before we divulge here. It is inspired by a true story, and it was a solid box office success. It wasn't nearly as big or predominant as American Sniper, for example, in the box office, but still a very solid ROI return for Clint. It is a runtime of 1 hour and 56 minutes. And it does include the cast of Clint Eastwood, who plays Earl Stone, and Bradley Cooper, who plays Agent Colin Bates, who is actually a member of the DEA. This movie was rated R when it was released, and the genre of this movie is drug crime. To set the scene for The Mule, it was primarily filmed across the American Midwest, and of course into Mexico. The movie summary for this, it is about a 90-year-old horticulturist and Korean War veteran who turns into a drug mule for the Mexican cartel. Again, inspired by a true story. Do want to touch a little bit about movies in minutes, as we are getting here further into the series, episode 18. I do want to remind everyone about the scripture or Exodus this week, that as we continue to grow this channel, grow this platform, that you may have to incur or expect to see ads across the stream. As a long-term supporter or fan of this community, I would appreciate if you actually watch the entire duration, maybe brace yourself for that, as again, just a means of income to continue to support. And as you can kind of see here, continue to grow the production budget here for our materials. Now, let's get into the themes of this movie before we get into the itty-bitty details. Again, if you are picking up what I'm putting down, the themes of this are redemption, around the cycle of redemption, and the consequences of choices. So let's get in more into the itty-bitty details of the plot. So the story is set in the late 2010s. Earl is nearly 90 years old and has a passion for flowers. That's what he's been into his whole entire career. He would essentially travel to different flower shops hosted across the American Midwest, but chasing his success in that field. However, as a result, he did neglect his family, as again, he was always on the road pursuing his career. As again, the late 2010s occur, internet and large retail stores collapse his entire business, as it did for most businesses, especially small to medium size in that era. And he loses his home. He essentially becomes dead broke, can't afford his mortgage, and he loses his home in his 90s. Obviously, he's in a pretty bad state of mind, but he does attend a family gathering where he is approached, kind of being in a vulnerable situation. He was approached by a member, essentially, of the family who was associated with the cartel, who simply inform him of a job opportunity if he's looking to make money. He's a little low in his ends. And again, why they really picked him, obviously, he was the perfect profile. He didn't really fit that typical profile of a criminal, 90 years old, in his own world. So as a result, he actually takes the job. Again, he's desperate for money as younger kids, looking to help them with their wedding, etc. And obviously to help their success or their future. But he learns quickly there is simply one rule in this business, being a mule for the cartel. You simply drive a vehicle from one location to the next, A to B, and without asking any questions. That again, the olden golden rule: drive a vehicle from one location to another with no questions asked. So by him completing that, he simply gets in the vehicle, drives it, doesn't look at any of the contents. That's another rule number 2. And he just brings the vehicle from point A to point B. Once he does return to his vehicle, they actually slip money in his glove box. He then returns. After the first few runs, again, he has no idea what's in there. He is living his own world. He's actually able to do a lot of successful trips. I think 5 runs in, he starts to realize as the money he makes, he actually buys his home back, is actually able to help his daughter, fund their futures. Because no one fits, he doesn't fit that typical criminal profile. So eventually the cartel's like, how is this guy doing it so successful? They're almost looking into him. They actually, plant things in his vehicle to hear his audio and make sure he's doing everything. Like, is he working for the police? How is this working so smooth? Again, war veteran, 90 years old, who would have knew? The DEA, that's when they come into place. They're closing in on this operation. It's funny, he and, I should say, Agent Colin Bates and Mr. Earl Stone do cross paths within the film, but they wouldn't assume they were that criminal for that, what they're looking for, that answer to that question. Long story short, they obviously do find out getting into the operation, and he is arrested. Earl is eventually discovered. He does 9 successful trips, and then he is caught by the DEA. So he pleaded guilty. So in real time, or in real life, again, this is inspired by a true story. He obviously did plead guilty. He told them about the operations. He was arrested on his last run with $3 million worth of goods, most likely illicit drugs. And again, he was only given 3 years in prison due to his age, his health concerns as well. Kind of a unique thing, a key takeaway here from this film. Again, he does something bad, he gets caught, he goes to prison. He does learn, though, the weird thing, the theme of this as well, he learns that money can't buy back the family he lost. You can never buy time. That resource is not renewable. But again, he was never able, all the money he did accumulate doing all the drug cartel runs, he was never able to buy his family back. Again, this is a cat and mouse crime story. I almost didn't think I'd get this deep into the video on this film. However, it is a great film. Anything from Clint Eastwood is always a spectacle in the stars. Gran Torino, $1 Million Baby, the list goes on. Again, inspired by true stories. I do appreciate everyone adjusting if you did run into an ad this episode. Again, really appreciate you tuning in for episode 18. I did rate The Mule a 6.5 out of 10. So still a very solid rating on the series. Not my favorite Clint Eastwood film I have watched so far, but really happy to bring it to you this week. I do recommend it for all my viewers. And again, appreciate you taking the time. Have a fantastic summer, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thanks, everybody.